We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Legacy Partner Workbook. So how you doing? Right? You know, pages 1 to 10, and then we jumped in and did 10 pages, and then we did, a couple pages. And so today, what pages are we doing, everyone? So one of the things that I would recommend as it relates to sales is I would recommend that you're ready, you're sharp, you're ready to you anticipate what's happening. I could share stories on that. I don't know, like I don't like sharing stories because they take up so much time. And I don't think people really pay attention so much to the story. I don't think they see the significance. I don't think they internalize the story, which is kind of sad. Um,
I want to do pages 21 to 23.
okay. So 21. All right. So that means that we've done, so we got to do,
Actually, 20,
yeah,
20 to 23.
20 to 23. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And so, all right. So what'd you guys come up with, like page 20? What'd you come up with for 20?
From what I
Something that
got,
I noticed.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Marla.
Eileen.
Go ahead, Marla.
Was the fact about listening to what they say and not be like anxious to say what you're gonna say next. I think I struggled with that a little bit.
Oh, I'm
It
just
got me
telling you
nervous,
all,
and then
if you get a chance to go ahead and be mentored by Marla, people don't catch what she caught. They just don't. They do not. So Kent, you want to get out in front of the ladies. And because, English is a second language to you, you're from the Philippines, you're going to tend to go ahead and let other people jump in, and you need to be the one jumping in. Does that make sense, Kent?
Yeah.
So you need to be not all the time, like not all the time, but you don't want them to take the lead. In sales, you got to take the lead. You got to drive it forward. Did you have anything else, Marla, on that?
no.
Elaine, you were going to share something?
yeah, I was going to share something a little like that. What I struggle with is to not have any silence. I need to anticipate, read into it more of what they're going to ask and be ready, have the answers ready um, when they do ask that, and not worry about how I'm going to sound, or what comes across as stupid or arrogant or something like that. I have to tone it down
You
in a
know how
way
you're
that
gonna, you know how you're gonna acquire what you desire?
do more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of any other. Now you could do role play. I'm not real big on role playing, but I probably should be. And so the three of you, with the three that you're each developing, and again, you only want them a couple pages behind you, ideally. See, you think you're helping them, but they're going to see things you didn't see, or they're going to remind you of things they didn't remind you of. So if you have a group of people coming right behind you, holy cow, is that powerful for you and for them as well? Now, you might not have that luxury. You might have somebody that went through, you might go through it and they might go through it a year or two later, which is fine too, because this is why written manage up and out. I just recently just realized people don't write. They don't read anymore and they don't write anymore. You guys need to be writing. You guys need to be managing up and out to each other. All three of you need to go, I went through these and put your thoughts into writing, and then communicate to the other two and the other three. And then you're learning to use your words to sell. How do you use how do you use your words? Like, why do I put little smiley faces all over? Because I'm tamping down my driver because it's too intense. I'm just too intense of a person. But that's how I succeed. It's also what holds me back from greater success. So learning how to put your thoughts in writing, you'll learn to think faster. You'll learn to respond faster. So a lot of it's just repetition. And so it's practice. You guys might role play with one another, which is fine. You can do that. It's building your synapses in your brain to go through and respond quickly and accurately. But then you use white space and sometimes you don't. You're in control of the entire conversation. And sometimes silence is the best thing. It's fascinating when you understand this stuff. Even after over 30 years of doing this, I still find this stuff to be so fascinating. Like I was at the grandkids swim lessons last evening, like I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock, and Milo called. And I picked up. And he says, I see you're working late. I'm like, actually, I'm at my grandkids swim lesson. I said, but you're working late. And I walked outside and we had this great conversation. I mean, amazing conversation. So people are returning my calls. Why is that? I mean, is it because I'm a man? It could be. Is it because I'm older? Could be. Is it something I'm saying? Could be. Like, and so how do I transfer that ability to get people to return my calls? Ken, anything else you have on page 20?
Yeah. It says that um if possible, if the customer says that yes, for sure, like they wanna share something that, but instead of saying yes for sure, what are you gonna do if they say no?
So in martial arts, they teach you. In martial arts, I took Taekwondo when I was in high school. I won't give that story. It's one of the favorite of my kids. And so I took martial arts, and what they do is they teach you in martial arts to do the opposite of what the opponent or the enemy or the attacker is thinking. If they think you're going to attack, submit. If they think you're going to submit, attack. Do the opposite. And so when somebody says no, you just like it's okay. Like it's okay to go pause and go, huh. So I'm curious, is that N-O or K-N-O-W? Like
And no.
Okay, interesting. So see, it's interesting. One of my mentors, Tom Coons, he went ahead and said that often people are saying no when they're really meaning K-N-O-W. See, if you knew what I knew, I think you'd go ahead and do the 30-minute strategy session. I mean, will that work? I don't know. But you have nothing to lose. There are 8+ billion people on the planet. A lot of this, you just have fun with it. Like, it's just like if you can get the person laughing, like if you can get the person laughing, you can go ahead and win them over. So if they think you're funny, you'll win them over. And you guys might go ahead. The goal is the 3 of you are going through live are helping the 3 new that are going through on the podcast, the rebroadcast of it. And so every generation of legacy partners needs to be stronger than the previous generation. You guys need to build on all of the previous stuff. So you might come up with some addendum or something and saying, hey, here's an addendum. Here's something where we drill down in. Let's look at these things. And you guys don't need me. I mean, this is your training. This is your certification. This is for you guys' benefit. And so you guys can come up with, things that are an addendum, something advantage. Let's make this thing better. What if we had this and this? Like Luke Boersma, my nephew, he went ahead and last Saturday, he said he'd never thought of that. Like I said 99% of my ideas don't work. It was a new concept. He'd never thought of that. Never crossed his mind. Like, holy cow. So Uncle Mark, it's like, he's just used to things not working. It's not that big a deal. I mean, it's a big deal where we got to make them work, but it's not like I'll just try something new and try something new and try something new until I figure out what's going to work. Excellent. How about page 21? So I would think that all of you, you're being trained to be sales killing machines. You're like, all of you would be like, I'm ready. I want to, like, it's almost like all three of you are interrupting instantaneously. You're not being polite. You're not waiting for the other person. If you jump in and you just like, I'm ready. So how about page 21?
How do you
I
not
think
share too much?
What do you
Just
mean?
enough that you wanna share enough what your group is about, but you don't wanna share too much. Just enough to tease them. How do you know when you stop? Like, when it's too much, when it's not enough?
Right? It's an art, it's a science.
Okay.
I feel like sharing a story. I feel like sharing a story about when I was 16 years old. But after yesterday's, I'm a little bit gun shy. Don't share that story. Somebody could misread it. So, uh, so it's like you're continuing to try, you're continuing to nuance, well, let's try this. And you got personalities. And so what works in one personality won't work in another. What works for a woman won't work for a man. What works for an older woman won't work for a younger man, or older man won't work for a younger woman. Like you have all of these different nuances. What works for the Amish might not work for the Filipino, which might not work for the American, and so it's complicated. Elaine's got an advantage because she's got 5 kids. Marla's got an advantage because she's got, 20 kids twice, or 30 or whatever it was. So she's got a lot of kids. And so as a teacher, so she's got these experiences. And so if you're a people watcher, you watch people, you look at different people, like why do people respond this way? Good. Ken or Marla, what do you have for page 21?
what I understand on that page is that asking a question will just make things more interesting, or communication is the key, because what I see on page 20, there is a strategy that it says that when they ask questions, you don't have to answer those questions, and just tell them that you're gonna have the answer on the next meet, like that. And it's get the customer or one of you more like excitement. There's an excitement.
Right? Like your voice, your tone. That's why when you get on in the morning, you don't want to sound like Eeyore and the Winnie of the Pooh, like, oh, my day is so, it's such a terror. Like you don't want to, you got to have energy. You got to have excitement. You got to have enthusiasm. You got to be pumped up, inspired, motivated. Like it's got to be like you're excited. Like my mom's, I don't know if that's in here. It should be in here. Like my mom, 3 generations of Boersma women, my mom, my wife, and my daughter, Ginger Ann. And I'm telling you, they know how to use all 3 of those women. They know how to use their voices on the phone to get what they want from people. It's movement. It's like crazy. And we might have a special section just for women where we talk about women and the differences of women, and how do you make sure that you're doing the right energy and it's not being misconstrued and a whole bunch of stuff. Well, we might need to have that for men too. Like how do you make sure you're not misunderstood? And so, good. Marla, your thoughts on page 21.
I think you pretty much covered it.
Nice. All right. 22. We'll go to 22. So here is where we got to be careful because, we might have drill down, like Luke's notes and journaling. And so Marla's questions for leaving a message. You'll see that I'm enhancing this as we go. So Marla had a question and I said, where is it best in the training? Now we're not going to be able to do that because if we're going through and looking at pages, we can't just add a page. Once we get through this, it can't go, but we could go deeper, right? We could say drill down. So we could go down here and we could say, let's take a drill down in page 17 to 19. You want to take a look. We want to go deeper into this. And so what you're seeing is in me, like when Marla, when Marla asked this question, and we'll get to that next time. So we're just going to go to page 22, I think, today. So in page 22, so here's notes. And so how do you go ahead? What you're looking for is, how do you get into this? How do you absorb it? How do you get in Luke's head, Mark's head, Marla's head, Elaine's head, Ken's head? Like, how do you get into what they're doing and what they're thinking and what are they seeing? And so what you can do is you can learn from one another. Anyone else have any thoughts on page 22?
Yeah. I'm gonna connect pages 21 and 22. It says on page 21 that we shouldn't rely on the others, but we should figure things, how to solve problems, and you know, just yourself. But in page 22, it says that we need to ask for a art mentor, like asking them for assessment or asking for them help, because like Luke done that, he create a script, I think, but before using a script, it is better, or the best thing to do is to ask help from your art mentor, because he or she has the experience and might help you to review the script that you've created.
So what's your question?
I'm just what I understand of that.
Okay, so your question, I think, is, Mark, it seems like on page 21, we're told to figure things out on our own. And on page 22, it seems like we're supposed to ask questions. That seems contradictory. Can you explain that further? Is that your question?
No. What I
No?
see on page 21 is that we should rely on ourselves. Like, I'm just sharing what I think on that pages. And on the page 22, it says that we should ask for help or our art mentor to assist us.
Right.
Like,
So,
they're just connected.
right. So are you supposed to ask for help or not ask for help?
We should ask.
But it says on 21, you ought to do it yourself.
Well, we have choices.
What's that?
We have choices.
Elaine or
But I think
Marla,
it
did
is,
you understand Kent on that?
He said we have choices.
Choices. Gotcha. That's interesting. That's awesome. You can understand. So yes, we have choices. So if our default is always to ask for help, we become lazy. We don't
yeah.
build strength. And so we always need somebody. So sometimes it's always good to come up with your own thoughts before you ask somebody else's thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Other questions on 22 or thoughts or comments?
I have a thought. It's interesting to see the different, like the way that the script was written, or the idea of it, and then have somebody else come in with the same type but just different wording, different um tone and everything, how different things work.
Right? Like, this is the thing that is maddening about, being married, like your spouse, like even after 40 years, you're trying to figure it out. Like, how do I say it where it's going to have the right impact? So, and it's exciting. It's like, I still haven't figured her out. Like, I'm going to figure her out. And same thing with kids, like what works, and the kids change so fast. And so what worked yesterday doesn't work today. And it's maddening, but it's exciting. And so in sales, you change one word in here and it can change everything. It can make it all bad or it can make it all better. It can make it amazing or different. So you want to try what you're being trained and do that, not just once. People say, I want to feel comfortable. Well, yes, you do, but you don't. A lot of the stuff that doesn't work, or a lot of the stuff that works, doesn't work the first time, almost always. And so it's complicated because if it's never working, well, you want to change that. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So, so you've got to go ahead and change it. But well, do you change it after the first one? No, you follow the system as best as you can. And once you follow the system, then you go ahead and then you go ahead and you can tweak it. You can modify it slightly. I think it was Picasso, a famous painter, said something to the effect, as a student, you do what you're told, and then you become a master. So don't change the system until you've mastered what the people who have created the system have told you to do, but don't be afraid to go ahead and after you've tried it, experienced it, you see the nuances of it, don't be afraid to try something new. Like, it's totally different from being an employee. Employee is pretty much do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told, do it with a great attitude. This is what I told my kids when they were growing up, when they were little. Do what dad tells you to do, when he tells you to do, how he tells you to do it with a great attitude. It's very simple. Now, once they learn that, now we go into, why is dad telling you this? There's a reason that dad has a thought process. So initially, that's what you want to do with your art mentor. Do what they're told, what you're told in the system. Do what you're told. Trust the integrity of the system. It's not a perfect system, but you're not perfect either. Follow the system as best as you can. And then over time, you make little tweaks to it. And you say, well, let's try this or let's try this. But be careful in trying it, because you may alter something. You have no idea what you're altering. So be aware, be cautious. Nice. Anything else on page 22?
No.
All right. So your art mentor, and again, written communication. You guys, before you go ahead and we have a conversation here, you guys need to be writing out. Your writing skills need to continue to improve. Like, the more you write, the better writer you're going to be. You just will. The better communicator you're going to be, because you have to take what's in your mind and put it to verbal and then put it down to writing. When you put it down to writing, your verbal skills are going to improve as well. So make sure that you're communicating to your art mentor. And if you have two art buddies, then you need to be helping them too, because we can always, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.